Question 1. Which of the following tasks can you perform using the Product Map section in SAP Transformation Navigator? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Remove products. B. Add new capabilities to a product. C. Add new products. D. Generate implementation guides. E. Send out an invitation to your project stakeholders. Question 2. Which of the following are sections in SAP Transformation Navigator? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Value aspiration. B. Product map. C. Transformation journey. D. Stakeholder management. E. Change request management. Question 3. When should the SAP Readiness Check be performed? A. During the run phase. B. During the realize and deploy phases. C. During the prepare and explore phases. D. During the discover phase. Question 4. Which of the following topics should be considered for change management activities in an SAP S/4HANA conversion project? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Knowledge transfer. B. Retraining of the functional experts to perform developer tasks. C. Integration of all relevant stakeholders in the project. D. Inclusion of implementation partners in the change management activities. E. Reducing the project effort by treating the conversion as a pure IT project. Question 5. Which of the following activities involving SAP Fiori are you recommended to consider in an SAP S/4HANA conversion project? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Assess the impact of SAP Fiori on SAP S/4HANA authorizations. B. Clarify the usage of SAP Fiori right from the beginning. C. Define the architecture taking into consideration the different deployment options for SAP Fiori. D. Define the usage areas of SAP Fiori after the conversion. E. Install the SAP Fiori desktop client. Question 6. What should you consider regarding the connected systems and integration related topics when converting to SAP S/4HANA? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Focusing only on the conversion from SAP ERP to SAP S/4HANA. B. Installing the SAP Readiness Check on the SAP ERP instance. C. Checking the systems connected to the source system. D. Testing the relevant, critical interfaces as early as possible. E. Defining an integration approach for SAP and non-SAP systems. Question 7. What are key takeaways from conversion-related topics that are relevant for project planning? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Consider the release and maintenance plan of SAP S/4HANA. B. Define the roles and skills required for the conversion project. C. Understand the phases of the technical conversion approach. D. Plan for the training approach. E. Check the prerequisites and choose between the 1-step and the 2-step approach. Question 8. Which of the following are steps when preparing for custom code adaptations in the prepare and explore phase? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Check SAP S/4HANA related changes based on the simplification list. B. Adapt modifications in SPDD/SPAU. C. Remove obsolete code by using tools such as UPL and SCMAN. D. Tune the performance of critical database queries. E. Do custom code evaluations. Question 9. Which of the following are new features of SAP Readiness Check 2.0? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. SAP S/4HANA sizing simulation. B. A new interactive dashboard. C. Capability analysis for SAP Transformation Navigator. D. Software Update Manager simulation. E. Categorization of simplification items as mandatory, conditional, and optional. Question 10. Which of the following does the SAP Readiness Check analyze? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. SAP GUI usage profile. B. Software prerequisites. C. Infrastructure requirements. D. Downtime impact. E. Functional implications. Question 11. Where can you find information about simplifications in SAP S/4HANA? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. In the Simplification Item Catalog. B. In the Simplification Transformer. C. In the Feature Scope Description document. D. In the Simplification List for SAP S/4HANA document. Question 12. Which of the following statements regarding the simplification list is true? A. Only the version for the latest release of SAP S/4HANA is available on the SAP Help portal pages for SAP S/4HANA. B. There is only one version of the simplification list that was made available with the initial release of SAP S/4HANA. This version contains all the differences that are planned by SAP. C. You are recommended to check for the latest version of the simplification list for your specific release. D. The simplification list available on the SAP Help portal for SAP S/4HANA is not updated regularly and could contain outdated information. Question 13. How can you access the transition to SAP S/4HANA roadmap? A. Use the roadmap viewer, https://go.support.sap.com/roadmap-viewer. B. Use transaction remain in SAP Solution Manager. C. Use the SAP Help portal, https://help.sap.com. D. Use the SAP Developer Center, https://developers.sap.com. Question 14. Which activities are recommended to be performed in the Discover phase of a transition to SAP S/4HANA project? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. Gap validation. B. Application value and scoping. C. Strategic planning. D. Solution activation. E. Trial system provisioning. Question 15. What types of applications can be launched natively from the SAP Fiori LaunchPad using a web browser? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. SAP Fiori apps including custom-built SAP Fiori apps. B. Windows graphical editors. C. URLs, for example, to third-party apps or SAP Cloud solutions. D. Classic user interfaces such as SAP GUI transactions and Webdon Pro ABAP applications. E. Computer-aided design editors. Question 16. As a key user, what sort of changes can you make to SAP Fiori apps using UI adaptation? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. Add fields, groups, and sections to object pages. B. Add a KPI or a link list card to an overview page. C. Reorganize the toolbar buttons of a list report. D. Create custom CDs views. E. Add complex logic. Question 17. What are the key takeaways from the overview of SAP Transformation Navigator? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. Understand SAP's recommended solutions for your current system landscape. B. Find information about customer proof points. C. Understand how your system landscape must be changed for a system conversion to SAP S/4HANA. D. Find information about potential license impact and more. E. Understand why SAP Transformation Navigator is the tool that should be used to perform the technical conversion to SAP S/4HANA. Question 18. What are good practices for a successful conversion to SAP S/4HANA project? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. Don't consider SAP Fiori for the conversion to simplify the transition to SAP S/4HANA. B. Understand the impact from the simplification list. C. Include business stakeholders to assess the impact due to the changes in functionality. D. Start as late as possible to wait for the latest innovations. E. Consider a sandbox conversion to find caveats early. Question 19. Which of the following checklist topics are relevant when assessing the architecture-related impact of a system conversion? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. User experience and front end. B. Custom code. C. Connected systems and integration. B. Sandbox system. C. Sizing and infrastructure. Question 20. What should you consider regarding the infrastructure-related topics when converting to SAP S/4HANA? A. Creating a system copy from the production system for testing purposes. B. Executing the software update manager during the conversion. C. Updating the simplification item catalog. D. Running a proper sizing for the SAP HANA database. Question 21. Why should you start the conversion with a sandbox? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. To remove the need to run the pre-check reports. B. To get a first experience of how the conversion works. C. To optimize the downtime requirements for the conversion. E. To better plan for the unknown, such as integration topics and testing issues. F. To avoid custom code adaptations. Question 22. What are the preparation steps for an SAP S/4HANA conversion? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Explore the results of the SAP Readiness Check to prepare the project. B. Prepare the source SAP ERP system. C. Execute the SAP Readiness Check for SAP S/4HANA. D. Execute the finance migration cockpit. E. Run the data validation tool. Question 23. When are you recommended to run the SAP Readiness Check? A. After the project planning is done. B. As late as possible. C. As early as possible. E. After go live. Question 24. What information does the simplification list provide? A. A description of all the end-to-end processes in SAP S/4HANA. B. Onboarding training for SAP S/4HANA end users. C. Marketing materials for SAP S/4HANA promotions. D. An overview of changes between an SAP ERP 6.x system and an SAP S/4HANA system. Question 25. What is described in the transition to SAP S/4HANA roadmap? A. The outcome of the SAP Transformation Navigator analysis for your future system landscape. B. Structured end-to-end documentation of an implementation or conversion project to SAP S/4HANA. C. Planned innovations and future features of SAP S/4HANA. E. Product documentation and feature scope description of SAP S/4HANA. Question 26. Which of the following are examples of the new business value SAP Fiori brings to business users of SAP S/4HANA? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Export of report results to Microsoft Excel. B. Intelligent automation through machine learning. C. Integration between financials and logistics. E. Embedded analytics applications. F. New processes only available with SAP Fiori. Question 27. Which of the following statements regarding finance in SAP S/4HANA are true? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Adding customer-specific fields requires significant effort and planning. B. Month-end closing processes are accelerated and can be executed on a daily/weekly basis. C. The user experience requires new transaction codes to access functionality and reporting. D. Reporting and analysis can be based at line item level. E. The new data model is based upon a single source of truth. Question 28. Which of the following statements regarding extension ledgers in SAP S/4HANA are true? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. An extension ledger cannot be used for statistical condition generation. B. An extension ledger can be used for predictive accounting. C. Multiple extension ledgers can be associated with one standard ledger. D. An extension ledger can be used for finance simulations. E. An extension ledger can be associated with multiple standard ledgers. Question 29. What is the maximum number of currencies that are supported by the Universal Journal, Table Ecdoca? A. 2. B. 5. C. 3. D. 10. Question 30. Which of the following statements regarding the new accrual engine in SAP S/4HANA are true? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Purchase orders can be accrued with the new accrual engine. B. The new accrual engine is available from SAP S/4HANA 1809 onwards. C. The new accrual engine supports all currencies of the Universal Journal. D. The new accrual engine supports only 3 currencies. E. Purchase orders cannot be accrued with the new accrual engine. Question 31. Which of the following statements regarding SAP S/4HANA controlling are true? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Actual controlling posting documents are not stored in the Universal Journal, Ecdoca. B. No reconciliation between FI and CO with merger of postings in Ecdoca is needed by the architecture. C. Secondary cost elements are not created as a G/L account. D. Cost-based COPA works the same as in the SAP ERP. E. With the Universal Journal, controlling is fully embedded in the general ledger. Question 32. Which of the following statements regarding the material ledger in SAP S/4HANA are true? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. The material ledger can support up to 10 parallel currencies. B. No compatibility view exists for material ledger actual costing. C. There is only one solution for material ledger and not 2 in parallel, material ledger plus materials management. D. The material ledger is migrated and activated during the conversion to SAP S/4HANA. E. The material ledger is mandatory only for SAP S/4HANA customers that activate actual costing. Question 33. You convert an SAP ERP system with classic G/L to SAP S/4HANA. Which options do you have if you want to use the document splitting functionality in SAP S/4HANA? Note, there are 2 correct answers to this question. A. Perform the conversion to SAP S/4HANA, Software Update Manager activates the document splitting automatically. B. Configure document splitting and switch on the respective business function. C. Run the subsequent implementation of document splitting tool available in SAP S/4HANA after conversion. D. Perform the new G/L migration before the conversion to SAP S/4HANA. Question 34. What are the main phases of the conversion of accounting in a conversion to SAP S/4HANA? Note, there are 3 correct answers to this question. A. Replication and synchronization of business partners. B. Activities after migration. C. Data migration. D. Year-end closing. E. Preparation and migration of customizing. Question 35. Which of the following prerequisites must be fulfilled in the asset accounting configuration in SAP ERP before starting with the conversion to SAP S/4HANA? Note, there are 2 correct answers to this question. A. The ledger approach must be activated. B. The new depreciation engine must be activated. C. The new asset accounting must be activated. D. The depreciation area for each parallel currency must be assigned. Question 36. When can you perform the conversion of accounting? A. Any time during the current year, the previous year must be fully closed and period-end closing activities must be completed. B. Only at the beginning of a calendar year, all fiscal years must be fully closed. C. Any time during the current year, you can have a maximum of 2 fiscal years open in the system. D. Only at the beginning of a fiscal year, the previous year must be fully closed. Question 37. Which steps are performed during the preparation and migration of customizing in the conversion of accounting? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. Preparation and migration of customizing for the Material Ledger. B. Preparation and migration of customizing for the General Ledger. C. Preparation and migration of customizing for Asset Accounting. D. Preparation and migration of customizing for customer/vendor integration. E. Preparation and migration of customizing of real estate management. Question 38. Which activity do you perform in preparation and migration of customizing for asset accounting when converting an SAP ERP system with the new asset accounting already activated to SAP S/4HANA? A. Adjust parameters in the chart of depreciation either manually or using the corresponding program. B. Activate the new depreciation calculation engine. C. Run the migrate charts of depreciation program. D. No activity is required because new asset accounting is already active in the source SAP ERP system. Question 39. Where can you change the number of jobs for a data migration activity? A. Only in the set number of jobs for activities in Mass Data Framework settings. B. In the Software Update Manager tool. C. In the preparation and migration of customizing settings or directly in the Start and Monitor Data Migration cockpit. E. Only in the Start and Monitor Data Migration cockpit. Question 40. Which of the following activities can be performed after the data migration phase in the conversion of accounting? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. Fill the offsetting account in FI documents. B. Enrich balance carry forward. C. Migrate accrual engine data. D. Migrate cost elements. E. Migrate material ledger order history. Question 41. What are compatibility views in SAP S/4HANA? A. Delivered, engineered database views that simulate the functionality of an original SAP ERP database table or data source. B. Filtered selections of records in Ecdoca for a specific company code. C. Selections of financial records based upon historical activities correct. D. Filtered selections of records in Actica for a specific company code. Question 42. Which of the following are examples of essential changes in SAP S/4HANA Finance? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. Classic revenue recognition in SD is no longer available in SAP S/4HANA. B. Classic real estate management is not supported in SAP S/4HANA. C. Flexible real estate management, REFX, is not supported in SAP S/4HANA. D. The business partner is the leading object in SAP S/4HANA. E. Customer/vendor integration is not supported in SAP S/4HANA. Question 43. Which of the following are examples of essential changes in SAP S/4HANA Controlling? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. Default accounts maintained in former cost element master data are migrated to transaction 0KB9. B. Default account assignments must now be maintained in transaction C088H. C. An additional third period interval was introduced in the finance open/close period, transaction OB52. D. Transaction OB52 is now used for posting from financial accounting to controlling. Question 44. Which of the following statements regarding financial planning in SAP S/4HANA are true? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. SAP Analytics Cloud can be used for standalone planning and with SAP S/4HANA and other cloud apps. B. SAP Analytics Cloud cannot be integrated with SAP S/4HANA, on-premise. C. SAP BPC optimized for SAP S/4HANA Finance can still be used for real-time planning on SAP S/4HANA, on-premise. D. SAP BPC optimized for SAP S/4HANA Finance is not available in SAP S/4HANA, on-premise. Question 45. When in a conversion to SAP S/4HANA are manual postings allowed in the system again? A. At the end of the data migration phase, when the migration set to completed activity has finished successfully. B. Once the activities after migration phase has been completed. C. At the beginning of the preparation and migration of customizing phase. D. Once the Software Update Manager completes the technical installation of the SAP S/4HANA software components. Question 46. You want to convert an SAP ERP system with classic G/L to SAP S/4HANA. What do you have to do in the source SAP ERP system before starting the conversion to SAP S/4HANA? A. Implement the new asset accounting. B. Define ledger groups for parallel valuation of COGS. C. Activate parallel ledgers by switching on the corresponding business function. D. Reset foreign currency valuations for all open items. Question 47. Which finance-related checks are part of the simplification item check? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. Consistency of G/L account master records. B. Consistency of the controlling area, company code, and ledger settings. C. Consistency of document line item tables. D. Consistency of asset accounting configuration. E. Comparison of the general ledger totals with the subledgers. Question 48. Which of the following preparation and migration of customizing activities is mandatory for all SAP S/4HANA customers? A. Activate account-based COPA. B. Generate an authorization profile to allow postings during data migration. C. Migrate general ledger customizing. D. Activate actual costing. Question 49. Which of the following are capabilities of the Start and Monitor Data Migration Cockpit? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. It deletes obsolete tables. B. It executes the finance data migration. C. It replicates customers and vendors to business partners. D. It repeats and resets data migration activities. E. It provides an error overview. Question 50. Which of the following activities can be performed using the Start and Monitor Data Migration Cockpit? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. Migration of balances. B. Enrichment of data. C. Transfer of application indexes. D. Migration of line items. E. Migration of credit exposure. Question 51. Which of the following statements about business partner, BP, relationship categories in SAP S/4HANA are true? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. You can create time-dependent BP relationships in SAP S/4HANA. B. You cannot create a BP relationship between a person and an organization in SAP S/4HANA. C. You cannot create your own custom BP relationship categories in SAP S/4HANA. D. Predefined BP relationship categories are available in SAP S/4HANA. Question 52. Which of the following process steps are performed via the Customer/Vendor Integration (CVI) interface in SAP S/4HANA? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. Creating a link between the business partner and the customer and vendor. B. Creating a customer or vendor independent of the business partner. C. Saving the business partner first and then saving customer and vendor specific data. D. Creating a customer and vendor as leading objects when required. Question 53. Which check reports are you recommended to implement for customer/vendor integration, CVI, synchronization? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. CVI_migration_preq. B. CVI_upgrade_check_resolve. C. MDS_load_cockpit. D. Sum. Question 54. What are some of the recommendations for customer/vendor integration, CVI, synchronization? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. Run the first cycle of the CVI in a sandbox with a copy of the production system. B. Complete the CVI in SAP ERP and continue to run your SAP ERP system as before until you are ready to start your SAP S/4HANA System conversion project. C. Correct the data errors identified during the first cycle of the CVI after the system conversion in SAP S/4HANA. D. Plan for performing the CVI during the system downtime of a system conversion to SAP S/4HANA. Question 55. Which report helps you check customer and vendor master data in SAP ERP during the preparation phase? A. CVI_upgrade_check_resolve. B. Pre-check_upgradation_report. C. CVI migration preq. D. MDS load cockpit. Question 56. How does the CVI_upgrade_check_resolve report help you with customer/vendor integration, CVI? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. It checks customer and vendor master data before the conversion to the business partner. B. It synchronizes customer/supplier data with the business partner. C. It checks CVI customizing, bidirectional. D. It provides you with proposals for certain CVI customizing settings. E. It corrects erroneous customer and vendor master data before the conversion to the business partner. Question 57. What is the linkage element between a business partner role and a data set? A. BP view. B. Section. C. View. D. Screen sequence. Question 58. You have defined a field group and a field assignment using the business data tool set. What do you have to do next to enhance a screen with a Z field? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. Create a section and assign a view to it. B. Assign a data set to a screen sequence. C. Set up field modifications. D. Assign a new section to the screen. E. Create a view and assign a field group, a data set, a technical screen, and the PI and PBO function modules to it. Question 59. Which of the following statements regarding master data replication between SAP CRM and SAP ERP when customer/vendor integration is activated in SAP ERP is true? A. The replication can be performed either by using the customer, supplier, and contact person as leading objects, or by using the business partner as the leading object. B. The only option to replicate master data is to use the business partner as the leading object. C. The only option to replicate master data is to use the customer, supplier, and contact person as the leading objects. D. The replication can be performed by combining the business partner with the customer, supplier, or contact person into the leading objects. Question 60. What do you have to do before activating customer/vendor integration in SAP ERP for SAP CRM integration? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. Delete the content in SAP CRM mapping tables. B. Change the setup of the SAP CRM system to enable master data synchronization. C. Implement the SAP notes in SAP ERP that enable the reuse of existing GUID tables from SAP CRM. D. Check the consistency and completeness of the SAP CRM mapping tables. Question 61. What are some of the benefits of having decentralized master data governance in your system landscape? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. Fewer master data duplicates. B. The ability to govern master data centrally. C. A single source of truth for the business partner. D. A simplified data model. Question 62. In the scenario where customer/vendor data was already loaded into the SAP Master Data Governance, SAP MDG, system, why would you replicate the customers and vendors from the SAP MDG system to the SAP ERP system? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. To ensure that the same business partner numbers are used in both systems. B. To avoid doing a CVI synchronization in the SAP ERP system. C. To prepare the data for archiving in the SAP ERP system. D. To avoid creating a key mapping table. Question 63. Which options are available for customers running SAP ERP HCM in a system conversion to SAP S/4HANA project? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. They must handle HCM through third-party solutions. B. They can continue to run SAP ERP HCM with SAP S/4HANA after the system conversion. C. They must uninstall and reinstall SAP ERP HCM after the system conversion. D. They can move SAP ERP HCM to SAP SuccessFactors and integrate with SAP S/4HANA. Question 64. Which of the following are the most common scenarios in SAP ERP if SAP HCM is present in the system landscape? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. ERP scenario where there are no employee records. B. ERP scenario where there are employee vendors. C. ERP scenario where there are no employee vendors. D. ERP scenario where there are no central person records. Question 65. Which of the following statements about the business partner, BP, data model in SAP S/4HANA are true? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. BP uses the role concept to create customers and suppliers in SAP S/4HANA. B. BP did not exist in SAP ERP, it is a brand new concept introduced in SAP S/4HANA. C. General BP data cannot be shared by different BP roles. D. BP is the leading object in SAP S/4HANA. Question 66. What are the customer/vendor integration, CVI, synchronization related phases in SAP ERP? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. Synchronization. B. Post-conversion. C. System upgrade. D. Preparation. Question 67. Which of the following are post-conversion activities for customer/vendor integration, CVI, synchronization? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. Activate the synchronization direction business partner to customer/vendor. B. Create the business partner. C. Deactivate the synchronization direction customer/vendor to business partner. D. Archive customer/vendor data. Question 68. What does the CVI_upgrade_check_resolve report check? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. Missing links between accounts and cost centers. B. Missing links between sales organizations and company codes. C. Missing links between customers/suppliers and business partners. D. Missing links between plants and company codes. E. Missing links between contact persons and business partners. Question 69. Which of the following tasks do you perform when defining a view using the Business Data Toolset? Note, there are three correct answers to this question. A. Maintain the screen function modules. B. Specify the screen section. C. Group views. D. Assign the view to an application. E. Enter the technical screen name. Question 70. What are you recommended to do for mass synchronization of master data after activating customer/vendor integration in SAP ERP? Note, there are two correct answers to this question. A. Run the MDS_load_cockpit program in a business downtime. B. Deactivate the CRM middleware. C. Delete the tables cream conr, customer master, cream parnr, contact persons, and cream liftnr, vendor master, in SAP CRM. D. Suppress the customer/supplier and business partner outbound queues in SAP ERP. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell icon for new video notification. Happy learning. Team Optimum Technology and Consulting.